He continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Shawn Thompson at 4 on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So we mentioned this legislation. Actually, Ted Dabrowski brought it up when we were talking to him last hour about all things Illinois policy related. The legislation that he mentioned, House Bill 29, would do the following. I'm reading from the synopsis posted on the Illinois General Assembly website. Creates the offense of parental bullying, provides that a parent or legal guardian of a minor commits parental bullying when he or she knowingly and with the intent to discipline, embarrass, or alter the behavior of the minor, transmits any verbal or visual message that the parent or legal guardian reasonably believes would coerce, intimidate, harass, or cause substantial emotional distress to the minor.
Isn't that partially what parenting is? Am I wrong on
Parental
this?
bullying when he or she knowingly, with the intent to discipline, embarrass, or alter the behavior.
Oh, so making my son made him wear a safety jacket.
Anything, you can't say anything critical to your child about your child.
Okay.
That would be my interpretation of it. LaShawn Ford heard us talking about it, and he wanted to clarify the intent of the legislation, so we're happy to give him his say on it. LaShawn Ford, state rep, West Side, joins us now, west side of the city, joins us now. LaShawn, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan and Amy. Yes, I think it's important to note that, first of all, this idea came from a constituent, and I support the idea fully. And I believe that parents should be able to discipline their children to the full extent of the law. And I believe what this bill is doing is saying that you should not discipline your children and transmit it to social media. That has caused lots of problems for children's emotional growth. It's humiliating, and it's not appropriate to publicly shame a child on social media.
Well, give us an example.
Wait a second, though. This doesn't say on social media.
It says transmits.
Well, transmits any verbal or visual message. Transmits. Well, if I discipline my fictional kid in the public square, that's transmitting that verbal discipline in a context where others can hear it, and so that could have the same impact as posting it on a social media site.
Well, a transmit means that you're going to send it, and publicly doing it in the square is different than transmitting. What you have on display is on display, but when you transmit it to a network that will be with the child for the rest of their lives. And there are instances where young people have committed suicide as a result of their parents using social media to bully them.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I could give you examples. There was a young girl, 10-year-old girl, that was her father cut her hair off, and she actually jumped from the building. I'll send you guys this information, and it is unfortunate that parents will go to the extreme and believe that this is the best way to discipline. You could discipline your children however you want in your home. And you could discipline your kids with social media bullying, but you need to understand that there are consequences when you do that to your child. They have to go to school the next day, and they have to deal with their friends. Children need protection, and all this bill does, whether it needs more work to clarify the language or not, this bill's intent is to make sure that children are protected from lifelong challenges that they may have from parents using social media to try to discipline them.
Mm-hmm. So this is preparing the world for the child rather than the child for the world, right? So the I can't even think about what or why a parent would go on to Twitter to like rant about their kid or something like that. I don't see that happening very much, except perhaps facetiously, or my kid did this, or usually it's the opposite. It's bragging and so forth, right? Or celebrating an achievement. So it just seems to me this is like a problem or a solution in search of a problem, and particularly for the state to intercede. I mean, it's this you can do whatever you want, except here we are watching your administration of your family and your relationship with your kid. And it starts in social media, as you say, although I think the language in here is very unclear. But then if it's good enough for social media and the issue is to avoid public shame that could hurt the self-esteem of the child, then why limit it to social media if that's the rationale for the legislation in the first place? Why not if you see somebody yelling at their kid at a basketball game? How could you miss that shot? Pass the ball, whatever. And the kid holds his head down and he feels shame or he's embarrassed by his father. Then that's time to call the police. Get this guy out of here. That's parental bullying.
I'm glad you made the distinction, because the difference in those discipline ways is the parent yelling at their child at the game. It goes away. It will not be on social media now that someone records it. If someone records it, then it could post it later. That's a different thing. But when a parent deliberately takes discipline actions and sit their kids down and publicly post their discipline for the world to see, it will last forever. There are cases where parents have actually made their kids hold signs saying that I will never do drugs again. And they had to pull the sign, stand outside, and let people see this. Now, guess what?
Yeah, I've seen
this is bad.
Even if you don't agree with that, to criminalize that, what is the problem with shame? Shame is how you learn that you did something wrong. Shame is what forms your conscience. Say, this is a shameful thing. I don't want to embarrass myself or my family, and so I know that if I do this or if I do that, I behave this way or that way, that will bring shame onto me and my family, and I want to avoid that. I mean, this idea that everybody's so fragile, they need their self-esteem protected at any time for every reason, no matter what they do, says who? The state?
No, it's not even about the self-esteem only. It's about the future of that child. Let's say a child decides that they want to go and get a scholarship to go to a college. The colleges now, they use social media and they search the profile of students. When they Google this child, or go on social media and find that this child had an incident with drugs, they can actually deny, or they may deny a child an opportunity for a scholarship or entry into their school. We know social media, employers now use social media and they check the internet before they hire people.
Yeah.
Now you see this child and this person, now they may not hire these people. Parents just can't whimsically do things to their children because there are long-term impacts.
Who says that? Who says making your child hold a "I will not do drugs" sign, just to use that example, and posting it, or just doing it in the neighborhood? Who says that's whimsical? That seems to me exactly that's intended to shame, intended to call out the bad behavior. I mean, it seems to me that the whole premise of this is just. It seems upside down to me, LaShawn. On the one hand, the actual problem in Chicago and Illinois and generally is the lack of parents and the lack of parental involvement. And here you want to use extreme cases, which are always a bad predicate to make law, that where parents are involved with disciplining their kids because you think it will extend the shame or the punishment beyond the acceptable term of the shame or punishment. I mean, how is the state in the best position to judge that?
Oh, we have what you call child abuse laws. I'm a teacher by profession, and I've been in the classroom. Children could be very, very cruel. Mm-hmm. I am of the
so put them in prison.
Awareness. Yeah. I'm of the awareness that we can't coddle kids too much, but this what I'm saying is we cannot put them in a situation where we drive them to suicide, where children, that's the problem. Parents could do whatever they want behind closed doors, but how many times I just don't agree that it's the perfect way to publicly discipline your child. It's abuse, and studies have shown it. This is not just LaShawn saying it. Studies have shown that when you publicly shame a child, you humiliate that child, and it's inappropriate.
And so if we're trying to prevent teen suicide here, the lockdown politicians, when are they prosecuted as for negligent homicide, for manslaughter, for all the kids that develop mental illness and acute mental illness? The studies. We got lots of studies about that. All the kids suffering from mental illness because of being locked out of their school and locked down and isolated socially. When do all the lockdown politicians, starting with your governor there, J.B. Pritzker, when do they get charged with crimes?
Well, I don't
anything to prevent any shame or loneliness or mental distress, anything and everything, and somebody who instigates it, however far the nexus is from actual culpability, that they should be criminally prosecuted. That's essentially the position here. Why doesn't it go for lockdowns?
Well, this would not put a parent in jail. This simply says that a parent, if they and it's about deterring the behavior and the discipline of children. Children need advocates. They need people to protect them.
They also need to be disciplined, and they crave discipline.
And they can't. That's right. Let me tell you, the best students that I had was the students that I disciplined. My daughter loves me when I discipline her more and more. She loves it, and she likes getting better.
Has she ever been embarrassed by you?
She was embarrassed by me once. And it was, I would say that I would never do it again.
Well,
because it was unnecessary. I didn't have to embarrass her. It was like a power struggle.
You're lucky your law wasn't in force. You're lucky your law was in force. Otherwise, we'd be talking about LaShawn Ford, the child abuser who embarrassed his daughter.
No, because my law, if passed and signed by the governor, says that you cannot transmit a discipline not that you can't publicly discipline. I remember taking my nephews to Florida, and I was in the bathroom giving him the business and yelling at him in Florida at Disney World because he was just not behaving right. And do you know, someone came up to me and told me that they were going to call the police on me, but I took them to the bathroom. They're going to call the police on me because I'm in the bathroom because my nephew was out of control, and I'm trying to pull him in control. We're at Disney World. Relax. But I actually was approached saying, you cannot discipline your child. Call the police.
Oh, please.
Right. That's the problem that's part of the problems with the culture, and you're exacerbating that problem with this legislation.
Now, we have to make sure, Dan and Amy, that we make a distinction between disciplining and publicly, social media, cyberbullying. That's the difference. Cyberbullying lasts for life. Children will do well with discipline. That's what you do to children. You discipline them. But when you put it on social media where their friends could actually see what happened in their household, children are mean, and now they have to walk in that classroom. There was cases that I will send you guys where a father actually cut his son's hair like X's, and it was horrible, and made him go to school. He posted it on social media. Everyone saw it. It's just not right. We have to protect the children.
That's questionable.
Again, the language commits parental bullying when he or she knowingly and with the intent to discipline.
That's right. And you know what? I think
the intent to discipline.
You and Amy did a good job at bringing this to our attention. And you're right. This should be cleaned up, and it should be made better.
All right.
And that makes sense. And that's what making public policy is about, communicating and making sure that we get it right. This bill came from a constituent. I gave the power to her to work this, and she's doing a great job at working it. And now it's on full display for us to make it better. And she's making sure that she meets with other stakeholders. And we're going to make it better. We're going to amend it so that it's passed in a proper form. But the intent is simply to make sure that we prevent social media bullying.
He is State Representative LaShawn Ford. He's a Democrat from the west side of Chicago. LaShawn, we do appreciate you coming on and hashing this out with us. Always a stand-up guy, so I appreciate that. And we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Again.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I've actually been in fitness for a long time. I just thought, well, you know what? I'm a little tired during the day. And that was one of the main things I was having. It's like, oh, man, I'm just give this a shot. And so I started the Balance of Nature, and I didn't really feel a lot for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden I had energy. And so for me, I was like, oh, my gosh, it took that kind of tiredness away. So now I don't feel that. So that is huge. And so I was just like, I cannot take this tiredness, but now it's gone. So yeah, I love the Balance of Nature for that.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
March is National Nutrition Month, conveniently right after the holidays and Valentine's Day. We're past the sweet season and into the spring season, a perfect time to kick the bad habits to the curb and kickstart healthy new ones. And there's no better way to do that than with my friends at 120 Life, a natural juice drink made of pomegranates, tart cherries, and cranberries that helps lower blood pressure without the side effects.